Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Energize Your Online Business podcast. Hey there, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. What we're going to talk about today is actually, I would say, kind of near and dear to my heart because I very much remember making this transition myself and what an impact it had on me as a business owner and on my business. And so what we're going to talk about today is the making the transition from the consumer mindset to the business owner mindset. And you may be thinking to yourself, you know what, I've been in business for a couple of years now, maybe even for a long time. I've got the business owner mindset down pat. But I think we all know that, especially when we think like, no, I've got it all figured out. There's always something more that we can learn. And so I would encourage you, even if you're like, no, I've got the business owner mindset. I've got this. We would still encourage you to listen and maybe do just a bit of gentle self-evaluation to see if there is maybe an opportunity to lean even further into the business mindset. Because the thing is that there are environmental factors that can pull us back into the consumer mindset and pull us out of being the focused, confident business owner that we want to be on a daily basis.
Especially right now when we're recording this in late 2023, just before 2024, and everyone's talking about how expensive groceries are at the grocery store and how much they're spending every time they go there. And it just seems like the general vibe, I'm not Gen Z, but I feel like vibe is a very Gen Z term. The general vibe, though, is very dim when it comes to the economy, even though the economy technically
actually
is
doing
really great. The stock market in November did real good. But so there's this disconnect, though, of like what's actually happening versus how people are feeling and the conversations that are happening around it, which I think just hearing it enough, people saying everything's so expensive and I'm not buying and whatever, it's enough to taint your own mindset.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The consumer sentiment more than ever before, probably with social media and 24/7 news. It's the consumer sentiment is driven by what other people are thinking and saying. I'm kind of laughing because a business owner friend and I were chatting about how at the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023 was when economists were concerned about the economy, thinking, oh, is there going to be a recession? We think there's a good chance there's going to be a recession. And consumers were not thinking in those terms. Consumers were spending just like crazy. But now, at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, as economists are starting to say, hey, you know what? I think we're going to get a soft landing. There's not every economist, certainly, but many of them are saying, actually, I think there's a good chance everything is under control or we're going to be just fine. The interesting thing is that now consumers are catching up and they're starting to get nervous and they're getting each other nervous and all that kind of thing. And when you start hearing it, to your point, Kate, when you start hearing it and seeing it and, oh, I can't afford this and this is so expensive. And I think especially, like we said, we're recording this in December, which is a time that just about everybody is buying gifts and feels compelled to buy things for other people, sometimes for ourselves. The consumer sentiment is actually it's divorced from what's really happening in the economy. But like it or not, the consumer sentiment is what it is, and your customers may be feeling it, and more importantly, you may be feeling it. And even if you're listening to this later on, you're like, no, it's I'm catching up on this episode. This will still come into effect, and everything we're talking about will come into effect periodically throughout your business career, if not often throughout your business career.
And I think often unconsciously too, that it'll come up. And so this is really just a reminder to remain a little bit more, I want to say remain conscious when you're unconscious. That doesn't make any sense, but to be aware that it might be happening, to check in with yourself to make sure that there isn't just kind of that dark cloud that's affecting your business judgments and your business decision making.
Absolutely. Because this is really where we get the split between what the consumer, and this is one area, I should say, that we get a big split between how consumers think and how they operate, and how successful business owners think and how they operate. Because your average consumer, when things start to get expensive, when they start to get nervous, they, if you're listening to the podcast and I'm kind of shrugging my shoulders as if I'm pulling a blanket over my head, just like that. Yes. Kate is actually literally wrapping up. The average consumer thinks in terms of tightening up their spending,
pulling back,
constricting, saving, and that makes sense for the average consumer. Because the average consumer has a job. Their income abilities are capped. It's not like one month they're going to make $8,000 and the next month they could make $12,000. They're going to make the same if they have a job. They're going to be making the same amount per week, per month, all of that kind of thing. So if they want to affect their budgets, they may need to think about constricting, saving a little bit more. That may make sense, even though, as we said, right now the economy is actually fine. It's just the consumer sentiment that's getting everybody in a tizzy.
On the other side, a business owner obviously should not be thinking like the consumer. It can be our reaction to oh my gosh, the economy, I think this is bad, so I need to tighten up spending too because my customers aren't buying. And it's not necessarily a smart strategy in the sense that as a business, of course, you want more coming in than what's going out, right? But unlike on a day-to-day basis, like Nicki's example, if someone's making $10K a month and they're spending $12K every single month as a consumer and their salary is capped at that, it's a little harder to make up month over month of like, okay, next month I'm not going to be making now $12,000, or if I'm still spending $12,000, I'm going to be making 14 to kind of get out of my debt from last month and this month. But as a business owner, you do have that opportunity. I think there's when we increase spending in strategic, smart areas, we have the opportunity to make that back and then some. There is something to be said, I think, for you have to spend money to make money, right? Like that's not just, that's a phrase for a reason, because there's an opportunity to have a return on investment. And I think that's the word that really we need to be using as business owners, is investment, versus as a consumer, you're not, investing in a car. You buy a car and the value is decreasing. If you're a business owner and you're investing in ad spend, for example, and you're getting customers in, that does have the potential to have a huge return on investment. Your customer lifetime value there's no limit to it.
Exactly. Whereas the consumer mindset is thinking about, like we said, like constricting. As a business owner, when the economy, especially when the economy is extra weird, we have to be hyper focused on making sales. Scaling back spending is not going to be what saves us, because as we scale back spending, that generally means that we make less sales. And as we make less sales, we have to let people go. We may have to make less sales. We have to scale back our spending even more. It becomes a vicious cycle. I will sometimes talk to business owners and they'll say, I really want to invest in XYZ program to help me make more sales because I'm not making the sales that I want to. The problem is if this program is going to help you make more sales and you're not currently making those sales, your current path is to continue to not make enough sales, right? So the consumer mindset is, okay, well, I'm going to save up, and we're not at all saying spend frivolously. We're be strategic with your investments. And we'll talk more about, again, investments in just a second. But the consumer mindset is, I have to save up for this. But they have a salary coming in. With a business owner, if you are not making sales at the rate that you need to be making sales, and you have the opportunity to do so by making an investment, you have to make that investment, because your current path will never get you to the point where you will be able to make that investment, if that makes sense. It doesn't go from A to B. It's a totally different trajectory.
Yeah, I think there's something, what people say about like the definition of insanity is like doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And I think that's what happens here is if you go on, keep trying to make something work, mostly because it feels safe too. There's this safety aspect of like, well, I'm at least making some sales maybe with what I'm doing, but I'm nervous because it feels like a risk to do anything different. Because what if I make fewer sales? What if I don't make sales? Whatever it is. But if you're on a path and you're not hitting your goals, sticking on that same path isn't going to get you where you want to go. So there is, yes, is there an inherent risk, so to say? Yes, but you're being strategic about it. You're not investing in things that you don't think will have a true impact on your business. So yeah, as a business owner, do you want to invest in business cards when sales aren't happening? No, that's not going to do anything for you. You don't need those. But if you're going to invest, to Nikki's point, in a course, in ad spend, increasing your ad spend, things that have a direct line or at least a very strong dotted line to your bottom line, then that's where you're investing the money. And maybe you're still doing what it was that you were doing to make sales in the meantime, while exploring opportunities for growth and for increasing your sales.
Yeah. When I think too, again, a holdover that consumer mindset, we think if I just keep doing what I've been doing, I'll get the same results. But that's not true in business. If you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to keep doing this and then I'll make a little bit of money and eventually I'll save for that sales course, there's no guarantee that what you're doing is going to continue to give you the same results, especially in a time when the economy is weird. Because it could very well be that you do the exact same things, but because consumer sentiment has changed or your audience has changed the way they think about things or your audience has changed as a whole, you could keep doing the exact same things and get worse and worse results. And so instead of thinking, well, I'm just going to, and I've seen this happen to so many business owners, instead of thinking, well, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get the same results and eventually I'll be able to save up for this other program or for this ad spend or something like that. Instead, they start digging a hole by doing the same thing that they've been doing. And all of a sudden they go, I don't know what to do differently. And my business is in a very dire place.
Yeah, especially because things are always changing. In whether it's a new social media channel is coming out, and suddenly that there's a lot of attention there, or wars are breaking out, pandemics happen. Like there's just so much happening in the world that does impact everything else that's going on, and so to stay stagnant really is a disservice to it's you can't run your business like that because things change.
Exactly. Fundamentally, as business owners, we don't have the luxury of staying stagnant. We just don't. The people who keep doing the same thing that they've been doing, whether it really works or not, are the ones who are going to end up going out of business. And I don't say that to be callous, but we know that the vast majority of small businesses do go out of business, and doing things the way that they've always done without changing up tactics, without revising their methodology, revising their thinking, without making investments. That is a major way that small businesses end up going out of business, kind of driving themselves out of business.
Yeah, and I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing, but I think the example that you've maybe shared on the podcast before, actually, of running ads, spending $10 a day to ads, and the fact that just isn't enough, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. That was way back toward the beginning of my business. And I don't even know if they say this anymore, but they say you can run a business and by spending just $10 a day on Facebook ads. And I went, okay, I can spend $10 a day on Facebook ads. So I spent $10 a day on Facebook ads without actually figuring out what my results were going to be from spending $10 a day on Facebook ads, thinking, okay, if I spend $10, then I guess a bunch of people will purchase, without figuring out what my cost per leads were, what my conversion rate was. If this is my goal, how do I work those metrics backwards to figure out how much I actually have to be spending per day? I think this is where we kind of get into we need a firm understanding of the difference between an investment and a purchase. And I think that sometimes people use them interchangeably. I think often consumers tend to use them interchangeably. But a purchase is something that you buy once and you use it, certainly, but it doesn't earn you anything back, right? You buy a car and then your car you drive your car and then your car just kind of gets worse and worse. You buy an iPhone and it's just kind of devolves from the moment that you make a purchase. You purchase sunglasses, you purchase
even a nice coat. I think consumers use investment to say, I'm investing in this statement piece because yes, it's $500, but over the course, I'm going to use it for 10 years. And so this is an investment in my wardrobe. But it's really not. We use that word investment as consumers to, I think, justify our purchases. And yes, is it smart maybe to invest in a higher quality piece that you have for a longer time? Sure, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But the reality is that is a purchase. That is something you want. That is not an investment because it's not going to give anything back to you. You were spending that $500 and you will never get that $500 back. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Whereas an investment is something where you put money into it with the intention and expectation that it's going to get you returns back. That, for example, for a program that teaches you how to make more sales, you put money in at the outset so that you can make more sales and make back so much more than you put in to begin with. That is an investment. I mean, just look at the stock market. That's what the stock market is predicated on. If the stock market was about you just buy something and then you have a stock and then you just have a sheet of paper, there would be no point in doing it. Exactly. We invest in the stock market with the expectation that maybe not all the time, but over the course of several years, in general, the returns are going to increase. What we get back is going to increase. And investments in a business can be in courses, can be in programs, can also be in employees or team members. I think that's I think we've talked about this in another episode, but another mistake that is very consumer mindset versus business owner mindset is thinking, well, I need this person on my team. I really need them. But you know what? I'm going to make more money first to pay for that role. And what almost always happens is that you can't make that money first because you don't have the time. If you could make that money, you would have already made that money. It's not like you're going to suddenly have more time or suddenly have more. In order to make that money, you need to bring that person in to take things off of your plate so that you can then earn more money. It's not, I'm going to make more in order to then pay for this team member. You have to bring the team member on in order for you to make more money.
So to use the ads example, because I think it's easy to look at from the investment angle with pure hard cash is, say you're spending $100 a day on Meta ads. And again, we'll link to that episode where we talk about the metrics to know for your Meta ads in the show notes. So check that out there. But $100 a day, say your program, whatever it costs, it's probably much more than $100, but you're investing $100 a day. So over the course of 10 days is $1,000. And in that 10 days, say you make 50 sales and your program's $500. So you're making more than your investment in the ads. I can't do that math off the top of my head. I tried to make it simple, but I can't. But you're making more is the idea. So what you're putting in, you're getting out much more. So even say $100 a day and you're selling a course a day, that's $500. You're making $400 then on that $100 investment. So the point is, though, you need to know how much you need to spend on something like ads to break through, to have that be meaningful enough to reach enough people, to have enough people coming in so that you have the opportunity for people to make a purchase. If you're running that $10 a day, you might not get anyone in a day for $10. That you might have been shown to a couple of people and they didn't want to opt in, and which is fine. That's going to happen. So you need to have a sense, though, of where you need to be and what you need to spend to have this return. And there was a Nielsen report, and we'll link to that in the show notes too, but that 50% of marketers' media investments are actually too low to drive maximum payback, which means you're not spending enough to actually have those returns, and or at least to maximize too the opportunity that's there, because everyone has an opportunity, and there are obviously lots of variables that go into that. But the point is, I think the spend does make a difference.
Exactly. And I hope it's very clear that we're not saying throw money around haphazardly. That's not how a responsible business owner operates. And I get it. There's certainly been investments that I have made in myself and the business that were bigger than I had ever made before, and it made me nervous. But I knew what I had a very good expectation of getting as the outcome. And I think that especially when consumer sentiment is weird, it can be very easy to listen to and to follow the way our non-business owner friends, or maybe kind of our newer business owner friends, are operating, which is the like, ooh, I'm going to stop spending. Ooh, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to wait. I'm going to save up. I'm going to keep doing the exact same things that I've been doing before. But that's not how you're going to get through it successfh as uncomfortable it is as it is. And I'm not at all saying that you aren't going to sit at your computer before you hit you upload your ads, or you hit purchase on a program, or something like that. Certainly, we're still human. You can still feel nervous, but you can feel nervous, think it all through, and still know that this is a wise investment for you. And that is the action that a successful business owner takes. You can feel nervous just like the consumers do, but making an investment is what separates you from a consumer and from an unsuccessful business owner. Feeling those nerves, but thinking through everything very judiciously and still making the investment anyway.
And it's really kind of being on the offense versus the defense, or, being proactive versus reactive. We don't want to react to things and just play defense and always be like, just trying to stay afloat. We want to do what we can to be swimming in those waters and not sinking, and just trying not to drown. And so thinking about how you can really take advantage of the opportunities and play some offense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and these investments too, they may be what you need to do just to tread water. Because like we said, if you keep doing the same thing and that actually decreases in results, you may, if the market is just weird, which who knows where it's going to be. Nobody's psychic, or at least I'm not. But you may have to make that investment just to tread water, just to keep your business where it has been before. And then as the market gets better, as consumers get more confident, then you can see that investment start to really pay off. Absolutely. Yeah. But it might be just for the moment that it helps you keep treading water. And that's not a bad thing, right? If you see it, you're like, oh, I was expecting it to double my revenue or something like that. If you're seeing good results and it's keeping you in business, and you can, and it is bringing income back in, that's still a good investment. And again, eventually, as the market settles down, or as you make some tweaks within your program, certainly with advertising, maybe there's some changes you need to make in targeting or messaging or all those kinds of things. But it may be that treading water is what that program or that investment gets you for now, until later on it takes off.
And I think the other thing too to note is that if your business is brand new or relatively new, you might need to spend more than someone who's been around for a while, just by virtue that people don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't know about your program. They haven't heard about it before. And so there might be more of an initial upfront investment where, again, same thing, the returns might be there, but you might start to see the returns increase as you've been established for a while, and that investment starts to have just bigger returns because people have seen you. And so maybe there's less people who have skepticism. And so there's more people coming in than there were earlier on at that same investment level.
Exactly. And quite frankly, too, the same goes for knowledge. If you are a newer business owner and you just don't know as much about how to run a business, how to market your product, how to put together your offer, all of that kind of thing, you may kind of have to front load your investments in learning to make sure that as you bring whatever it is that you're selling to market, that you do it in the best way possible. I can tell you that I spent 6 years kind of languishing as a business owner from 2012 to 2018. Did I make some sales? I did. And it was a great program. So people were writing it. We're talking about our professional copywriting course, because we have several brands. But that was the first brand. And thankfully it was a great course, and people were writing in and telling me that they were creating their own successful copywriting careers. And that was great. So there's going to be a learning curve. Now, quite frankly, my learning curve should have ended a lot sooner. But hindsight is 2020. So again, it is not at all easy to make the concerted effort to be in the business owner mindset versus the consumer mindset, especially because the consumer mindset is what you hear everywhere. It's what you hear on the news. It's what you hear your friends talking about. It's what you hear maybe your significant other is saying, well, I don't know.
And it might be how you need to act in your consumer life versus your business life.
That's a great point. But for your business, you have to think and you have to operate differently. You have to think and operate as a business, not as a consumer. And if you find that challenging, go back and listen to this episode again, get yourself revved up, but also put yourself in rooms with other business owners who are thinking like business owners. Make sure you're not getting into a room with business owners who are thinking like consumers. You need to be in a room with business owners who are saying, ooh, okay, yeah, the economy looks like it might be getting a little weird. Here's what I'm going to invest in. Here's the changes that we're going to make. Here's how we're going to move forward. Here's how we're going to ensure that we make it through so that when the economy is back to normal again, we can really take off. So a lot of stuff to think about. Again, not easy, but essential. We don't have the luxury to sit back and wait. If we want our businesses to keep going, and of course we do, and not just keep going, but thrive, we have to put on the business owner hats. So with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to learn how to sell and scale your offer on autopilot every single day without the chaos of live launching or the low conversions of Evergreen? Who doesn't, right? Get our free on-demand video training at circuitsalessystem.com/free. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a video. We'll catch you next time.